Hi everyone and welcome to this video. My name is Annie Servio. I'm a circadian menopause coach and I'm here today with you to talk about estrogen dominance in menopause. And let's unpack what estrogen dominance really means, especially in the context of menopause. And many people think it's only about low estrogen or that the estrogen is somehow stuck in the tissues. But in reality, it is far more nuanced. So stay tuned as I walk you through this whole thing, what estrogen dominance is. So, what is estrogen dominance? So, basically, it all comes down to hormonal balance, and estrogen dominance doesn't necessarily mean you have high estrogen. If you go into take a blood test, it might show that you're low estrogen, and then you get prescribed more estrogen to kind of counteract because you probably went to the doctors to actually get help to your menopausal or just in general women's health problems. And it can mean that the estrogen is high or it is high relative to progesterone. And it's all about hormonal balance and not just the absolute lab amounts that they normally test you. So you can actually have in estrogen dominance, you can have high estrogen and normal progesterone. It means that it's still estrogen is the dominant hormone right there. Then you can have normal estrogen, but combined with low progesterone, and that again means you're estrogen dominant. And even in the context of low estrogen and very low progesterone, you are still estrogen dominant because the progesterone is deficient. And it's the ratio that matters here, not just the levels. And in my opinion, when I think that when people are trying to find answers to their different symptoms, be it menopause in general or just something to do with individual hormones, and they only look at the lab test that their doctor or practitioner prescribes, that's when we come into a lot of problems because hormones is supposed to be balanced. It's never one hormone above another. They work in synergistically together. And that's what we should be focusing on is the hormonal balance. So can estrogen dominance happen in menopause? Because menopause is basically seen as a low estrogen state, and everybody just blames it's the estrogen, it's low. That's why everything just kind of falls apart. And you can still be estrogen dominant in menopause, and it is far more common than people generally even realize because of course the hormones drop, and when the key hormones estrogen and progesterone, when they drop, the progesterone drops first and drops significantly. And this is where most of the women's problems with like sleep and repair just gets hammered. And then when you have this excess, when they are not balanced, have this excess of estrogen activity, and even when the estrogen levels fall. So because they are not in harmony, you experience symptoms. And if a woman is leptin resistant, you can soon in the future find more videos where I talk about the leptin resistance. And it's very, very common. As common is basically a woman's menopausal symptoms. It is common to be leptin resistant. So if you are leptin resistant, inflamed, or insulin resistant, the fat tissue aromatizes more androgens into estrogen, especially estrone, creating a local estrogen excess, especially in our breast and fat tissue and uterus and brain. So yes, you can have low blood estrogen levels, but estrogen dominant symptoms because the progesterone is absent. There's not enough um, stuff in your body, which is progesterone. So you're basically deprived of progesterone. And so there is no break because the progesterone is the break. It kind of balances out the effects that estrogen have in the body. And then your fat tissue, especially if you're leptin resistant and you have a lot of fat tissue, you're overweight or obese, your fat tissue also makes aromatase enzyme, which also plays part in the estrogen conversion. So the estrogen detoxification in the liver is impaired or can be impaired. The estrogen receptors are overly sensitive or downregulated. So there's leptin resistance, there's insulin resistance, but there can also be estrogen resistance as well. And when estrogen clearance is slow due to if you have poor gut health or your liver is burdened or your lymph function is not working as it should, you might experience estrogen dominant symptoms. So the symptoms of estrogen dominance, let's talk a little bit about these symptoms. So stay tuned. I'm going to walk you through how this all can link to different hormonal cancers like breast, uterus, or ovarian cancer. So you can have physical signs in your body that may be a sign that you are estrogen dominant. So there might be breast tenderness, there might be water retention, you might feel puffy all over, you might have weight gain, especially around hips, thighs, and belly. That's very common sign of estrogen dominance. There might also be emotional challenges, which are very, very common symptoms of menopause. And so you can have mood swings, anxiety, or also sleep disturbances. So your sleep quality usually declines when you reach perimenopause or menopause age. Then if you are still ready to reproduce, you might have some challenges with getting pregnant. That's also a sign of estrogen dominance. But if you are menopausal, or perimenopausal, you might have heavy or irregular bleeding. You might have flare-ups of different fibroids or endometriosis. And of course, cognitive effects are common symptom of general menopausal symptoms like brain fog and fatigue, but they might also tell a deeper story that there is things to do in your hormone balance. So, what are the factors that are worsening estrogen dominance in menopause? So, there's low progesterone, like we already discussed, so nothing to balance estrogen's effects. There might also be high stress, and because cortisol steals resources from progesterone production via pregnenolone steal effect. So that is especially common in menopause, that most of your progesterone is channeled out because it has to provide enough bang for the buck to make you cortisol because you're overly stimulated. And this is very common. So many women in menopause, they feel like they're just like so tired. They could sleep all the time, but they are still too wired to calm down when they should be calming down. So it's like this chronic stress state. Then there is leptin resistance. It increases estrogen conversion in fat tissue. Poor detox, if you have impaired liver function, you have gut health issues, or your lymph function hinders the estrogen clearance, or environmental factors like low natural light exposure to xenoestrogens. They also disrupt normal hormonal balance. And xenoestrogens are estrogen mimicking chemicals that we get exposed to from personal cosmetics, artificial nails, artificial things that we lather, makeup and everything, or just like cleaning products, they might also cause this. They might also cause estrogen dominance. So here's a little bonus insight. I really wanted to also bring this along because this will go deeper into the hormonal cancer effects that we might get from if we are estrogen dominant. So we have to also understand that there is different types of estrogen. So there is estrone, which is E1. And if you are dominant in, especially in this hormone, it can have pretty detrimental effects on your health. So normally in the estrone in menopause, the estradiols, the E2 declines, and estrone from fat tissue can become dominant. So that's the dominant version of estrogen. And then estrone is a weaker than estradiol, but it is more inflammatory and associated with certain cancers in excess. If you have if you are overweight, if you have excess energy, which is excess fat in your body, you're leptin resistant and you don't have enough progesterone, that can lead to estrogen dominant state in your body. This is why excess fat plus leptin resistance, no progesterone, can result in an estrogen dominant state even with a low estrogen overall. So basically, if you just look at the estrogen and you only see that, okay, estrogen is low, and then you think, oh, this is my problem, it is not necessarily your problem that you have low estrogen. You must understand this, what I'm saying. So there is no simple solution like, hey, here's this estrogen pill for you, or a patch or cream that let's fix it. Like, it's that easy. It is not that easy. It's actually, that's the unnatural way to work around this problem. So how can you fight estrogen dominance? So you must restore balance. So that's the key. So because the hormonal balance is the most important thing, and that can be done through leptin and circadian repair. Then you must reduce aromatase. When you fix leptin signaling and lower inflammation, you decrease overly producing estrogen. Then, of course, we have to also think that we need to detoxify. Our bodies must have a way to detoxify. So then we focus on liver and gut health with anti-inflammatory animal-based diet. And then different lifestyle strategies are super potent. So you must improve your light environment and your light exposure. You must minimize the xenoestrogens, so opting for more natural cosmetics, change your cleaning stuff, and then, of course, think of everything you use in the house, like your clothes, if they're made out of plastic, if everything's in your kitchen and you're cooking in plastic, that's, of course, going to increase your xenoestrogen load. And then it's important to support our adrenals and their recovery from the daily stressors. Light exposure and light signaling is the key for the hormone balance, and that happens through our eyes. So we must get natural sunlight every day to kind of, kickstart and lay the foundation for the day and the hormone secretion. And then we have to, like I said, support adrenal recovery and prevent the pregnenolone steal syndrome from happening, or if that's happening, we must make it into remission so we don't kind of pay the price to be running on high stress and then our sex pay the price. Estrogen dominance, like I said, is strongly linked to increased risk of hormone-related cancers, especially in tissues like breast, uterus, and ovaries. Estrogen dominance does not automatically cause cancer, but it creates the biological environment that can fuel it. So my mission is to make sure that I am as healthy as possible now and in the future. And that's why I do this video, so you can also get that same for you or your loved ones. So that's why we need to also focus and reduce the chances of getting a cancer. Estrogen dominance increases the risk terrain, especially when it is combined with poor clearance, inflammation, and receptor overload. How estrogen dominance can contribute to cancer risk. So excess estrogen stimulates cell proliferation. So estrogen, especially stimulates cell growth and replication, especially in breast tissue, endometrial lining of the uterus, and ovarian tissue. This is, by the way, totally normal. It's part of our reproductive cycle. But if this proliferative effect happens chronically without being balanced by progesterone's calming anti-growth influence, it increases the chances that abnormal cells can grow unchecked. Estrone, the version of estrogen that I talked to you before, and estrogen metabolites can be more problematic. In menopause, estrone, the E1 form of estrogen, becomes more dominant. So it becomes more dominant from the fat tissue aromatization. E1 is associated with higher pro-inflammatory and proliferative potential than estradiol, which is the E2. Certain estrogen metabolites, especially, bear with me, 16A hydroxyestrone, are linked to higher cancer risk compared to more protective forms like 2-hydroxyestrone. If your liver, gut, and methylation pathways aren't clearing these metabolites properly, estrogen becomes more damaging. So when you have no progesterone, you have no protection. Progesterone isn't just a fertility hormone. So sometimes when, couples are trying to get pregnant, they might be put on progesterone to kind of help them to conceive. But progesterone is much more. It prevents the cancer, basically. So because nature does not make mistakes, they always should be balanced, and it calms estrogen's growth promoting effects. And in menopause, when progesterone levels collapse before estrogen, this balance is lost, leaving tissues more vulnerable to estrogen stimulated overgrowth and possible mutations. So we must be aware of all of these things. And estrogen receptor overstimulation, chronic high estrogen exposure or xenoestrogens from plastics and toxins overstimulate estrogen receptors, especially ER alpha, which is more associated with tumorigenesis, which means that it promotes cell proliferation, which means more susceptibility to cancer. And without proper circadian rhythm and receptor clearance, estrogen keeps binding, stimulating, and pushing growth in sensitive tissues. Inflammation and leptin resistance add fuel to the fire. So leptin itself is pro-inflammatory and pro-proliferative in breast tissue. In women with leptin resistance, obesity, insulin resistance, and estrogen dominance, cancer risk multiplies. Inflammation plus hormone imbalance equals high risk terrain for tumor growth. What cancers are most linked to estrogen dominance? So breast cancer, especially ER plus types, and the mechanism is that estrogen stimulated growth of breast tissue without progesterone counterbalance. Endometrial, so they are uterine cancers, so unopposed to estrogen thickening the lining, common in postmenopausal women. That's the mechanism right there. And then ovarian cancer, less direct, but still hormonally influenced. So estrogen exposure over time may influence tissue, microenvironment, and inflammation. So I know it's a lot, but It is a lot. We women, we're constantly in risk of losing our health because we are given solution that just destroys us further. And that's why I'm so passionate about talking about these matters, because I sense a danger when we go to the medical route and finding answers from pills and supplements and different things. So, how to reduce estrogen dominance cancer risk? So, support your progesterone through lifestyle repair. So, if you know your lifestyle is bad or it's like you could be doing better, then you must be the person who changes how your lifestyle is and you do something about it. Then you must optimize your liver redox and detox pathways. Redox means reduce oxidation, so reduce the inflammation in the body by eating healthy. Improve your gut health, again done with diet, but there's also many other ways to do it which are completely free, and they don't require you to throwing out your dollars and getting an arsenal of different supplements. It's actually super simple. Avoid xenoestrogens. So say reduce your cosmetic use, maybe think of getting rid of your fake nails or other substances that you put in your body that you know are not natural. Opt for natural cosmetics, organic natural cosmetics, makeups, everything super important. And avoid sunscreen. That's so important. Heal your leptin resistance through circadian rhythm. Eat early, like don't eat late at night, and then of course eat real food. Get daily sunlight to regulate the POMC network, estrogen receptor turnover, and mitochondrial function. Sunlight is the supplement that you need in your life. Trust me. Normalize your body composition. So try to reduce your visceral fat and aromatase activity. So especially if you notice that the fat in your body is located somewhere in the midsection, you know you have a problem. You know that's a sign of leptin resistance. So if you want to reduce the risk of cancer or other metabolic disasters, then it is very important that you do everything you can to reduce or normalize your body composition, and get rid of the excess fat that you carry around. And without shaming anyone or not being body positive, but it is a fact that we just must be very honest how we approach our health. And we all know that being overweight or obese is a risk for not just cancer but other diseases as well. So estrogen dominance doesn't mean your body is broken. It means that your environment, your circadian rhythm, and signaling are misaligned, and your tissues are receiving the wrong messages. So I will break it down in later videos for you guys, what it all means. How are these hormones converted? What are the symptoms what can you do to reduce the feelings of like something is taking over your body in menopause? So please subscribe to my channel, watch my videos. And I'm just starting here, but this is one of my first videos, so I'm excited that if you made it through this video, give me feedback. Like, comment, and share. It's very important information for everyone, for every woman. So, and if you want to learn more, join the Menopause Revolution community and get access to my Menopause Emergency Relief course, and that's completely free. And that's where I teach you more about circadian health, more about how it affects menopause and what can you do to thrive and be a queen of menopause. So hop on board and join the Menopause Revolution community. I'm super excited to see you there. Okay, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.